being Thursday, 24th June 2021. Joining me in today's conversation in looking at some of the topical issues that have dominated the Nigerian landscape in the last couple of days is Mr. Oluku Bienusi Matthew. Mr. Matthew, thank you for coming to the pundit.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, in looking at some of the issues that have dominated the landscape, we'll be considering the statement credited to the former Minister of Finance and also the current Director of the World Trade Organization in person of Okonjo Iweala, and the current Minister of Finance in person of Ahmed Zainab. And the headline captures it as endless borrowing. Experts worry. Okonjo Iweala, Ahmed differs on Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio. Moving away from that, we'll be looking at insecurity. Gumi knocks army as 200 killed in Zamfara despite Buhari's no-fly zone. Gumi knocks army as 200 killed in Zamfara despite Buhari's no-fly zone. Moving away from that, we'll be looking at the profile caption of the person of Mr. Olusegun Odebumi, the person who sponsored sponsor of the Cronian NPC NBC bill. According to the report, it was ascertained that he has no media background. That is credited to the Vanguard newspaper. Moving away from that, we'll be looking at a statement credited to while was taken into quick response by Joe Igbo, who also said, "The Dot Nation, you are ethnic by God." Elder statement was credited to Igbo Kwe, berating Eyinaya Abaribe. In moving swiftly in consideration of time, for those who want to join us in the conversation at home, as well as viewers who want their opinion to be heard on some of these issues, you can join us with the phone number 080 97208308 08097208308. So, Mr. Matthew, let's start with the Nigerian um, borrowing as captioned by the Punch newspaper. There was a little bit of a counter opinion from Okonjo Iweala and also a reaction from the current Minister of Finance in person of Ahmed Zainab. So, what's your opinion on that?
Thank you very much. Matthew is the name once more. The issue is I have read about the position canvassed by the DG of World Trade Organization, person of Dr. Okonjo Iweala, and the Minister of Finance, in the person of Ahmed Zainab. Looking at it critically, from economic point of view, debt to GDP ratio that is below 60% is not entirely bad. But looking at the position of Okonjo Iweala, the Nigerian debt to GDP is 35%. And looking at the position of the Minister of Finance, the Nigerian debt to GDP is 29%. And looking at the implication of high level of GDP, looking at the implication of when when you have a high percentage of debt to GDP, I think Nigeria government should watch its borrowing trend, because if your debt to GDP is high, definitely the probability of you paying back is not there. It becomes difficult for you to pay back. And once you are at that stage of finding it difficult to pay back, it will send panic into the domestic economy and globally. Because if it gets to that level, it will be difficult for investors to even come into your economy. Because a weak economy, no government, no investor will be willing and ready to come and invest his money in a weak economy. And looking at the way Nigerian economy is being managed currently, I think if you promote mediocres above, if you promote mediocrity above meritocracy, I think it's part of the reason we are seeing that our economy is not growing. Because if you look at the current Minister of Finance, I don't think she has so far managed this economy well. Because I could understand while Okonjo Iweala was the Minister of Finance in Nigeria, as at the time of Obasanjo was the president, that was the time Nigeria had debt pardon. IMF pardoned Nigerian government in so many areas of our debt. And you needed somebody who had that pedigree globally. Because for you to even go and canvass and negotiate at that level, you must be somebody who has that pedigree at the global level. Now, I think, because if you look at the debt profile of Nigeria currently, this government came on board and met a debt profile of 12.12 trillion naira. As at the last count, if you check the update of Nigerian Bureau of Statistics or so, Nigerian Debt Management Office, it tells you that this government have jacked up Nigerian debt profile with about 20.8 trillion naira. So this from 12.12 trillion naira, it have moved to 39.92 trillion naira. So by implication, this government have borrowed additional 20.8 trillion naira within just a short space of 6 years. And we cannot continue in this trajectory, because the way it's going, you are mortgaging the life of Nigerian, even children unborn. Because if you borrow to a point where it becomes difficult to service the loan, where it becomes difficult to pay back, definitely there are conditions attached to the borrowing, which they are not even transparent enough to let Nigerians know. There was a time the thing came to the fore about the threat of the condition given to Nigerian states by this Chinese government or the financial institutions that is borrowing to Nigeria. But the government was not transparent enough to ventilate in the public. So the way it stands, we do not even know the condition attached to all this borrowing. So generally speaking, Nigerian government should check the borrowing trend because it's not healthy for economy. More so, as Nigeria is a mono economy, I think what Nigerian government needed to do is to look inward and see how you can diversify the economy. Because the way it stands, any shock in the petroleum sector globally will reflect in our local economy. And until you diversify the economy in Nigeria, you cannot have a robust economy. Because we are looking at how do you gain forests. How do you attract forests?
Foreign investment.
No, I mean forests. Foreign exchange. The problem now is that even the little foreign exchange you have, you are spending it to service loan. So instead of you looking inward on how to diversify the economy so that you earn more foreign exchange, Nigerian government is still dependent on oil. So for me, because if you look at when Nigerian economy was thriving, the economy was majorly built on agriculture. And an economy that is built on agriculture is one that is sustainable. And unfortunately, Nigerian government or Nigeria as a sovereign state has so many avenues to make money, to earn foreign exchange. But the government, it's not just restricted to this government anyway. The successive governments of Nigeria have always played down on other areas where they could earn foreign exchange. I'll give you an instance. Under the military leadership of Babangida, Ajakuta Steel was built with good rolling mills. But surprisingly, under a democratically elected president of Olusegun Obasanjo, Nigerian government sold the rolling mill to an Indian company. So by implication, the way it stands, even Ajakuta Steel have no rolling mill. And if you develop our steel industry, our steel sector, it will capture African markets. and it is going to earn us more foreign exchange than even the oil. Because if you look at the value chain of the of the steel industry, it has more potential than even the oil, and even have more enduring tendency. Because if you look at the current global trend, fossil fuel is fading away. People are looking towards alternative source of energy. Only recently, the vice president of Nigeria drove a solar powered vehicle that was coupled in Nigeria, assembled in Nigeria. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the technology is getting here, and the world is shifting attention from crude. Though good thing, we still have gas, which have enduring tendency, but we cannot limit our earnings to gas. It is good we look at other areas where Nigeria can harness resources. Now, let me tell you another thing. Look at this issue of uranium, through which they enrich, they make even atomic bomb. I'm not canvassing a position that Nigerian government should go into bomb production, but I want to look at the economic gain
of using uranium.
of uranium. You can use uranium to generate electricity. If you remove impurity from uranium up to the point of 5%, meaning you have 95% impurity, it can generate electricity. It is when you remove it up to 95%, meaning you're having just 5% impurity, it can be coated with lead and warhead to become explosive, what you see as atomic bomb. But let me tell you, if you look at the controversy between Iran, Israel, America, UN, and the world power, is centered on enrichment of uranium. And Iran is claiming that they are using it for economic benefits. But the way it stands, UN has given them ultimatum that they should not enrich it beyond 20%. What am I trying to say? That you can put it to good use. And here in Nigeria, we have lead deposit. We have uranium deposit. We are not even thinking about that. All attention is focused on oil because of
easy access.
Easy access. Because if you look at the way Nigerian government run the downstream and upstream sector of Nigerian oil and gas industry, Nigerian government is even idle. They are not doing anything. If they segment Nigerian society into air blocks, they ask companies to bid. By the time they bid, the companies that have won a particular oil block will go and bring their platform, bring their resources to explore the oil. All this while, Nigerian government will be redundant, doing nothing. As at the time they start bringing out the oil, Nigerian government through NNPC will stand to collect 60%. So Nigerian government collects 60% across board, from Chevron, Share, Mobi, name it. And look at the economy of these individual air companies.
They are richer than some of them.
They are even richer than Nigerian government. It tells you that something is fundamentally wrong with Nigerian sovereign state, because this money that is being earned through oil is not going to the federal coffers. Some persons are siphoning it. So, this reminds me, there's a report recently that says that the former National Security Advisor that died alongside the former Kaduna State Governor in a plane crash. I'm talking about Zazi. Okay, there's a report that says that he has about $9 billion in a US account. And an American lobby firm wrote to Nigerian government that they should hire them to help them repatriate those funds to Nigeria. I don't know what is stampeding that anyway. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to use to buttress the point that what is the brain of the problem we're having in our economy is because of corruption. Because if the money you are getting from crude is enough to diversify the economy into other sectors, but the situation where the money is being siphoned, is going into personal purse, that is the reason we are not seeing development. And we'll continue going through this trajectory of undevelopment as long as the government is not ready to do the needful.
So let me come in. For viewers at home who want to join in the conversation and also have different opinions on some of these issues, you can please call us with the phone number 0809720 8308. 08097208308. So, Mr. Matthew, aside you mentioned uranium, there are so many other resources like bitumen, there's
That is
coal,
enormous.
there's limestone, there's
It's
gold,
enormous.
even in Zamfara.
It's enormous. I just cited
So,
uranium as
uh,
an instance.
yes, I understand. So,
If you go to a place like Jigawa State, they say the capital name is Duse. Go and verify. Duse means rock. Go and look at the way God endowed that state with that solid mineral. Is Nigerian government looking inward and see to economic benefits that will come out of it? I don't think so. The same thing is applicable to gold. Go and look at the crisis in Zamfara and some other places where you have crisis in it has something to do with gold mining. When the federal government of Nigeria declares Zamfara a no-fly zone, little did some people know that it is because of activities of illegal miners who use chopper and some other air platform to hover those areas for purpose of illegal mining. So all these things are happening. We see foreigners come into Nigerian climb.
Which means, in all of this, what is the role of the government? Because we have a government that come out and say they are in charge. Nigeria is a sovereign state, and this level of impunity is within the system. People using a private chopper.
If it would have been a speculation if federal government had not issued a no-fly zone in a place like Zamfara. Some persons were asking questions because by all standard, if you declare a zone, a no-fly zone, you are saying that a particular category of flights should not fly there. Now, the question is, were they having those flights in those environments? The locals, the traditional rulers will tell you that yes, of course. So what does it tell you? It tells you that the economic viability of that area, it has potential. It tells you that people have been leveraging on those natural resources, those solid minerals like gold, to their own advantage. Look at what percentage is gold bringing to Nigerian treasury.
Now, the question is...
And we have mining activity going there on regular basis, on daily basis, year in, year out.
Is it that as a people, we've not really been able to fine-tune how to harness these resources? Or because our leaders don't see the reason to fine-tune these resources? Or because it's easy to depend on oil, but oil is fading away?
It's easy to depend on oil. The money that comes from oil is huge. But again, Nigerian government, like I have said, they are not thinking outside the box. Because whether we like it or not, the era of crude is fading away. We are talking of ozone layer, depletion of ozone layer. Here we are. If there's a summit in the world, we will see Nigerian government going to make presentation. But Nigerian government is still spending billions of naira, if not $billion, trying to explore oil in the northeast.
Checking for where there's still crude within the north.
Here we are. You are talking about global warming. The world is looking at how to checkmate the effect of sun on ozone layer, and Nigerian government is at the same time spending billions of naira to explore oil. Is that not hypocrisy? Or does it? Maybe it tells us that Nigerian government is not on the same page with the world.
With the world standard.
Yes.
Or maybe it's their level of understanding.
Because if the trend continues, a time will come when a place like VI will be no more. Because the more you deplete ozone layer as a result of carbon monoxide that is being emitted into the air, the more the North Pole is melting down, the more the water level is rising. So places that are close to the sea, I cannot remember specifically how many meters the thing rises within a given period of time. So it will get a time where a place like VI will be submerged.
But probably before then, most of our leaders will not still be alive. So
but the world leaders, the people who plan, they plan 20, 30, 50 years ahead.
No, that's what our leaders, maybe they don't see it from that perspective. That's what I'm saying.
It's unfortunate. Because a good leader we look at what does future portend for my country in the next 100 years.
So, Mr. Matthew, moving away from the borrowing and diversification we've discussed, we're back to insecurity.
Okay.
Wumi knocks army as 200 killed in Zamfara, despite Buhari's no-flight zone. So now we are still back to the same circle of Gumi saying one, accusing the army. Although prior to this time, he already made an allegation against the army.
I know, I'm
And
aware.
as at that point in time, he has been involved with probably helping the government in terms of rescuing the kidnapped girls. But recent statistics has shown, based on Gumi's statement, that let me quote from his statement from the Punch newspaper emphatically.
Okay.
Gumi, while featuring on morning show program on Arise TV on Wednesday, alleged that a lot of those he describes as bad elements in the nation's security forces were colliding with bandits. That is the first allegation. He even went ahead to say the cleric stated that the bandits had been able to access assorted weapons that they used against Nigeria due to the cooperation of the security agency. That's the second allegation. They're getting cooperation and they're getting equipment. Gumi even went on to expatiate that. Gumi said that these, as the Punch learned, that at least 200 residents of Zamfara state had been killed in violent attacks, despite an order by the President Major Muhammadu Buhari declaring a no-fly zone over the state airspace. So we're looking at 200 lives. Now, on his part, the Kaduna-based cleric alleged that the security agents were doing business with the security and lives of Nigeria. Gumi said these bandits, if you don't know, are cooperating with a lot of bad elements in our security. This is a business. So many people are involved. You will be surprised. According to him, they were caught in Zamfara. They were caught everywhere. How do these big weapons cross our border? That now brings to the question of border security. Although some of his allegations were to the army, but another question we should ask is, Nigeria don't produce any of these firearms. How do these firearms get to the Nigerian landscape? Maybe we should start with that, because I'll have to read some other parts of his stories which I really want us to
let me
pinpoint.
start from Zamfara State, for instance, because Zamfara happens to be the epicenter of activities of herders or these bandits. Only recently, the service chiefs went around the country for appraisal and assessment of the security situation. When they got to Zamfara State, as part of their findings, by information given by the traditional rulers, says that in Zamfara State, that over 30,000 bandits are hibernating in their forests, and that Nigerian army have less than 10,000 soldiers in Zamfara State. So what I was saying?
Sorry, that is only for bandits in the forest.
Yes.
We're not looking about other issues where the army will be gotten to do some other operations. So the population of only the bandits in the forest is more than the total population of the army deployed to the state.
Then looking at how these arms and ammunition are getting into Nigeria. One, Nigeria border is porous, though it's not an excuse by any government of the day to say because the border is porous, that is why I cannot police the border, and that is why illegal arm is entering the country. It's not an excuse.
Yes.
I think the government should look for what to do, the strategy to use to curtail these people who come into the country with arms and ammunition. Mr. President have agreed and alluded to the fact that the instability in Libya, for instance, and some other places is fueling the crisis in Nigeria.
So
be that as it may,
so what has he done?
It behoved on him to do the needful and protect the people.
Sorry, do you see this presidency doing the needful?
it is not a matter of whether I see him doing it. It's a responsibility that behoves on him, going by the tenet of the Constitution. Because if you look at it, what made the government legitimate is the ability to protect life and property. So we have seen best of nation deploy technology to combat crime and criminality. What does it take to deploy technology? Because it is evident that you cannot use human being to police all the borders of Nigeria.
Yes,
but you can deploy technology to police the border. Because if there is a government order that the border between Nigeria and Jigawa, Megatre, for instance, that no, apart from Nigerian immigration and custom who are on the border, that no person under any condition should be seen crossing the border, not passing through the appropriate channel.
No, Mr. Mesa, I've heard some arguments.
No, I'm coming. Now, if you now deploy drone to monitor the borders, if the government who monitors the border from a remote site sees movement of people from any angle that is not allowed by the government order, the next thing to do is to deploy air raid and neutralize whoever is illegally entering the country. And once intruders, all these illegal people who come into the country, once they are aware that the government is resolute and the government is coming hard on people in that manner, they'll be restrained. Because however you look at it, it is only a legitimate government that have the competitive advantage to use air platform. Air platform.
Yes, true.
Even these bandits we are talking about, they are disadvantaged. The Nigerian state have comparative advantage over them with respect to air platform. The bandit cannot have access to jet bomber, Alpha jet, Tucano jet, name it. The Nigerian government can legitimately, legally acquire it and deploy it against them. So what is it that is stampeding Nigerian government from doing it?
Maybe
that is where some persons are thinking that, like as Gumi have said, that some military personnel may be colluding with these bandits for the purpose of financial benefit. No. We have seen an endowment. Lest we forget, who were operating in Taraba State as a kidnapper. We have seen how an IG squad left Abuja to arrest an endowment. We have seen how a military captain was alleged to have led other soldiers to rescue an endowment, and in the process killed 3 policemen who were on their line of legitimate duty. And in this country, we have seen how the federal government mandated the former chief of defense staff to set up a committee to investigate what actually transpired. We have seen how that committee have indicted that a particular captain and 9 other soldiers. We have followed the development, and we have seen how the current Minister of Justice and Attorney General, in person of Malami, took over the case. And as we speak, the case is pending in court. The captain and the other soldiers were not charged to court alongside the other policemen and other civilians who were indicted. Only for the Attorney General of the Federation to say that the military high command refused to surrender their personnel for prosecution. And I ask a question. The same Malami who wrote a memo to Mr. President against the former acting chairman of EFCC. I'm talking about Magu. And that memo saw Magu being investigated and being fired.
And the equivalent of Magu's rank to the captain, if you compare, is far higher.
Yes. And look at the gravity of what offense Magu is alleged to have committed, because actually he have not yet been, I'm not holding brief for him anyway, yes, but he have not been committed by any court of competent jurisdiction. But look at the allegation that is levied against him. Look at the allegation that is levied against already indicted captain and 9 other soldiers. Which one is weightier as we speak? the captain is not being tried. So we still have a country where abnormality have become a norm.
So, Mr.
And
Max,
people who should know, who should do the needful, who are even supposed to protect the law, are not doing it.
so where do we start in
Who
the
should
whole
interpret
of
the
this?
law?
Let me even go ahead with some of the things Gumi mentioned. He went ahead to accuse the army, or in fact, it wasn't only the army this time around. He was talking on the security as a whole, so which involves the army, the police, the.
If you look at the explanation I gave, the story I just narrated, it is somehow buttressing the point of Gumi that Nigerian military personnel are culpable in this whole issue of insecurity. Because if a federal government panel indicted a captain, it tells you that Nigerian army
have probably been doing such.
Yes.
That is not even out within the scene.
Yes. So I think.
Sorry, let me continue. If not for the fact that the person involved or the group of people happen to be another security agency that was able to investigate the matter that far, because at the point, if you were following the investigation, it was a special team by the IG
Special Squad.
IG Special Squad. So the Inspector General of Police took it on himself to push for the investigation. Personal. Aside that, it got to a stage whereby they had to bring the phone conversation of the kidnapper and the army officers. They went ahead to MTN to establish the investigation thoroughly. So if it was a case of maybe the kidnapper and some members of the public that they kidnap for ransom, nobody would do that.
You are even saying that even in Dume, even Wadume, when he was rearrested, admitted that when they freed him, that he was taken to that particular captain's house, from where he escaped from the man's house and went to Kano, where he was eventually rearrested.
So, Mr. Is there hope for this nation? I haven't seen what has characterized from the security agency to the political class to the religious leader to the traditional leader. Just in the NSAS campaign, some traditional leaders were hoarding dollars in their houses. The palliative that other countries of the world were releasing to the citizen were stopped. And so you now see a country. Is there hope for this nation? Be factual from what we've seen so far, because I don't believe there's hope.
If the current crop of leaders continue to be in the saddle, I do not see any hope. We can only see hope when you have a total overhaul of the system.
Is it possible to have
the system and come in?
Is it possible to have a total? Use the word total.
It is when the people become resolute. I mean Nigerians.
Okay.
When they become resolute and against all odds, say we must get it right. That notwithstanding, it comes with implication. It comes with sacrifice, because some lives, some will be used as sacrifice to achieve it. Just like we saw an NSAS, some people were sacrificed for that NSAS to control.
But even as that has really not solved police brutality in Nigeria.
But whether I would like it or not, it has sent signal
to them.
Even the Nigerian government is aware, whether they're admitting or not, they're aware that there was high level of high-handedness by SAS operatives.
And if
you look at the evidence coming from the respective panel
set up, country.
Yes, you see that it's overwhelming. That tells you that by our standard, SAS was a menace rather than
we've digressed from the topic we're discussing about the army and Gumi's.
Now, I was coming to Gumi. Gumi himself, I think he should be called to question.
Who will?
Because you look at the utterances accredited to him, which he have not denied anyway, it tells you that that man have character problem. How can a Gumi be telling Nigerian soldier that the military personnel who are killing bandits are Christian extraction from the military?
But the military never arrested him to prove that. So
That
maybe
is what the problem of Nigeria.
maybe there's an element of truth in that. You know, when a case is indicting somebody, you won't have the moral justification.
Apart from that, recently.
No, sorry, let me come. When a case is indicting, maybe for example, you know that I took this pen, and you told me that you were the one that took this pen. So because I know that truly I am the person that actually take this pen from this table, I will be having guilty conscience that in the process of attacking you, you might come up with superior evidence. Don't you see that?
I don't think that is the case.
So what would have what would have warranted the army to have kept silence? There was no arrest. There was nothing.
From what I can understand, I
think the army playing a partisan role.
I think Gumi, beyond playing a partisan, I'll come to the army position. But I think Gumi is trying to play to the gallery. I think Gumi is trying to be in the good book of the bandits. Because don't forget that he's an Islamic cleric. So you don't want to paint a picture of the Muslims are the one killing the bandits. Now, I think the reason the military may be careful in arresting a Gumi is because
it's perhaps from the north,
not just from the north.
It's a Muslim.
Not just in the Muslim.
Because I'm so sure if that statement was credited to maybe some other people from certain part of the country, they would have been picked by
beyond that, Gumi has large followership.
But Ezazaki as well had large followership and he was arrested.
Ezazaki was arrested. Don't forget that from some persons have alleged that Ezazaki's arrest is like the Sunni fighting the Shiite. So if we go into that,
religious political gladiators.
Yes. If we go into that,
we might not live.
If you go into that, you understand that it's like, because in the Muslim circle you have the Sunni, you have the Shiite.
They are the cause.
So it appears as if the current government is Sunni, and
they really don't want
the Shiite. But let's leave that for the purpose of this discussion. Let's focus on Gumi. I think because of his followership, Nigerian army is being
I think Gumi is a Sunni,
tactical.
If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not very sure.
Okay.
But I think because of his followership, they don't want to ignite another crisis. Even as Nigerian government, through the Kaduna State government, have kept Ezazaki in captivity, they are not finding it funny. So they don't want to act.
The last protest on behalf of Ezazaki took the life of a deputy commissioner of police.
Exactly, before they were declared a terrorist
organization.
Now, even Mr. President,
Muhammadu
Buhari, acknowledged that, no, it was the Iranian president that acknowledged that on Ezazaki's case, that he have explored all diplomatic means with Nigerian government to get Ezazaki out of captivity, or the federal government, or the Kaduna State government, So you see that it is even at a higher level of diplomacy. So I think the Nigerian state may not want to add to issues that has to do with religious crisis. Consider that even the Boko Haram has a religious undertone.
Yes.
So I think that may be the reason the military is not forthcoming in arresting Gumi. I don't think it's because he's from
But do you think...
After all, we saw a Dasuki, who is even from the royal lineage,
and former colonel,
and a powerful
colonel
lineage from that
army of...
for that matter. We have seen the federal government kept him in captivity for more than 2-3 years.
No, some people have argued that it was a payback of what some of the things he did to President Muhammadu Buhari.
It's possible.
So that maybe his own case is a little bit different.
It's possible. So because if you look at even the Sunni and the Shiite, it's like a similar scenario. But beyond that, I think the Gumi himself should be careful with his utterances. Because most of those utterances that are a recipe for crisis is trying to fan the ember of disunity in this country. He's trying to incite one religion against the other. Because by the time it's just that Christianity is a religion of peace. Because by the time you are telling the bandits that the Christian military personnel are the one killing them, what are you telling them? You are telling them to attack
the Christians.
So if the bandits now deploy terror against Christians in Zamfara, in other states where they're operating, what do you think will come out of it? So that is why he needs to be cautioned, because he wants to set this country on fire.
Okay. Moving away from that very story, I haven't seen what has transpired as regarding the Twitter ban, the bill to restrict social media, to censor social media in that sense, which I am not seeing as the priority that the government should do. I think the government should do more on security. The government should channel its energy, and the Ministry of Information and Communication, to how they can track those who uses phone and means of communication to collect ransom payment. So, but just like every other action of this current government or the government of Nigeria, irrespective of time, misplaced priority. There's an headline that says that Meet Olusegun Odebumi, sponsor of draconian NPC NBC bills. He has no media background, according to, I think this statement was credited to the Vanguard newspaper.
It's almost in all the national days.
Now, what would have warranted uh, someone? I think he's a member of
He's a senator
a senator. Are you sure?
from Oyo State.
I think he's a member of the APC.
That I do not verify.
Now, from what would have warranted that kind of bill in the first place? That is the first question that pops up to my mind. Then the second thing that pops up to my mind is, what would have been, has he moved any other bill? We have issues in insecurity, we have issues in loans. Has he been able to bring up bills that are related to the most pending issues? Because I'm very sure in his constituency we will have poor people, we have those who are out of school, we have insecurity. Or your state is domiciled with insecurity as it stands. And I don't think they are the best performing state in Nigeria as it stands now. In his constituency, there are schools that had no roofs. So, what has he really done that he has finished the major things that are affecting the people of his constituency? What remains is for him to sponsor the bill. I'm trying to imagine what would have the kind of person, and people have been digging out his profile to really know who he is in recent times. They really want to know what he's up to. So, what is your take on this kind of bill that is sponsored?
Thank you very much. My take is simple. Perhaps he's trying to play to the gallery of the executive. Perhaps he wants to be in the good book of the executive. Because we have seen the presidency come out openly to renounce the bill. Because one would have speculated that the presidency sponsored him to come up with the bill. But seeing the presidency renouncing the bill, I think the honorable thing to do is for the man in question to withdraw that bill. Because by all purpose and intent, that bill is anti-people, it's anti-democratic, it has no value, it has it has only nuisance value. Because I've seen the position of Nigerian Union of Journalists, that if for any reason you want to punish an offender on ethical issues, you can withdraw that person's certificate with which he practices journalism. You can deter that person from practicing for some time. Not that you go and make a law that throws that person into prison. That's why people are likening that bill to Decree 4. So what I'm seeing is, looking at that man's background as somebody who studied secretarial study, okay, OND, and later had one degree in education. It has no correlation with the press. It has no correlation with media. And if you look at his profile, he has not worked in any media organization. He is not exposed to media practice. So to that extent, I think he's not competent to speak in this area. That notwithstanding, as a senator, as a House of Rep member, as a case maybe wherever he is, he have his team that would have advised him on the right thing to do. But if you look at the bill, there is no right thinking member of the society that will say that that bill is what we need at this material time. And if you look at the extant laws currently, you have libel, you have slander, defamation of character, that is adequately captured in relevant sections of the 1999 Constitution as amended, through which you can prosecute any person, whether a journalist or an individual, who has violated the right of any other person. So that's why I think if it's not the federal government that instigated them, perhaps he wants to be in the good book of the executive. But whichever is the case, that bill should be consigned to the dustbin of history, because it is intended to cause crisis in our democracy. It's trying to send us back to Egypt. It has no any good intention.
Okay, for viewers at home who want to join us in the conversation, you can please call 08097208308, 08097208308. Mr. Matthew, just like